In the stillness of the night, a chilling whisper echoes. Are you scared of the dark? Tucked away in the folds of an uncharted landscape, there exists a small town. It's the sort of place where everybody knows everybody, where the hustle and bustle of city life is replaced by the peaceful rhythm of nature. Yet, beneath its tranquil surface, a dark secret stirs, casting an ominous veil over the town. Every full moon, as if following an ancient and unspoken ritual, the town is haunted by an unseen shadow. An entity, a specter, a phantom, call it what you will, but its presence is as real as the fear it instills. It's not the kind of fear that you outgrow, like the monster under your bed or the boogeyman in your closet. No, this is a fear that seeps into your bones, chilling you to your core, a fear that makes your heart race and your palms sweat. Strange occurrences, unexplained events, they've become the norm here. Doors creak open with no one to push them, lights flicker. Even when there's no storm, laughter echoes, even when there's no one around to make the sound, and every time, it coincides with the full moon. The inhabitants, once jovial and welcoming, now wear masks of fear and uncertainty. Their eyes hold stories they're too afraid to tell, tales of the unseen shadow that lurks in the darkness. The children, once innocent and carefree, now clutch their teddy bears a little tighter, their laughter replaced by hushed whispers of the unseen shadow that visits them every full moon. This is not just a tale to frighten children into behaving, or a myth spun by superstitious elders. It's a reality that the townsfolk live with, a chilling truth they've come to accept. They've learned to fear the dark not for its absence of light, but for what lies within it, the unseen shadow, an unwelcome visitor that has made the darkness its home. The fear wasn't about the dark, but what lurked within it. The moon was full, the night was silent, and then the shadow appeared. Our tale begins with a local resident, a man of no particular remark until that fateful night. He was returning home from a late shift, the only soul wandering under the moon's cold glow. It was then that he saw it, a shadow unlike any other, a formless darkness that seemed to suck in the light around it. His heart pounded in his chest as he watched this dark anomaly. It writhed and twisted, almost as if it was alive. The shadow was not attached to any object or person. It was independent, free, and it was moving. It danced under the moonlight, defying the very laws of nature. The resident stood, frozen in terror, as the shadow morphed into different shapes, each more terrifying than the last. It was like watching your worst nightmares come to life, a parade of horrors in the dead of night. The man tried to scream, but fear had stolen his voice. He was alone with the shadow, a terrifying spectacle under the watchful eyes of the moon. As quickly as it had appeared, the shadow receded. It shrunk and twisted, contorting itself until it was no more than a speck in the darkness. Then, just like that, it was gone. The man was left alone once again, the silence of the night now more oppressive than ever. He rushed home, his breath ragged and his mind in turmoil. He locked his doors and shuttered his windows, but no amount of physical barriers could keep out the fear that had taken root in his heart. He knew he had witnessed something unnatural, something unexplainable, a shadow that was not a shadow, a darkness that moved and breathed and lived. The encounter left him shaken, forever altering his perception of the world. The night was no longer a time of peace and tranquility, but a stage for shadows to dance and nightmares to come alive. He had seen the impossible, and it had filled him with a dread that lingered long after the shadow had gone. The shadow vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving behind nothing but terror. In the aftermath of the shadow's visit, fear gripped the town. The air was thick with tension, the once vibrant and bustling town now subdued and hushed. The shadow, an entity that was both there and not, had changed everything. Local authorities were at a loss. How could they protect their town from something they didn't understand, something that they couldn't even see? The police chief held press conferences attempting to reassure the public. But his words were hollow, his explanations met with skepticism. Theories abounded. Was it a trick of the light, an elaborate hoax, or something far more sinister? People started to see the shadow everywhere, in the flicker of a candle, in the corner of a room, in the rustle of the trees. Paranoia crept in, replacing the camaraderie and community spirit that once defined the town. Parents kept their children indoors. The elderly whispered of old legends, their eyes filled with fear. The shadow had become an unwelcome guest in their homes, a phantom that lurked in the corners of their minds. The town's routines were disrupted. The once lively market was now a ghost of its former self, with only a handful of stalls and even fewer customers. The laughter and chatter that used to echo through the streets was replaced by silence. The fear was palpable, a shroud that hung over the town, seeping into the very fabric of their lives. Even the bravest among them couldn't hide their unease. The shadow had shaken them to their core, challenging their understanding of the world. It was an enigma, a mystery that defied logic and reason. It left them feeling helpless and vulnerable, a feeling they were not accustomed to. The shadow had not just visited their town, it had invaded their lives. It had become a part of their daily existence, a constant reminder of their fear and uncertainty. The town was not just living with the shadow, it was living in its shadow. As the town lived in fear, the question remained, what was this shadow? Determined to uncover the truth, a brave few embarked on a chilling investigation. In the heart of our town, courage had taken root. A group of valiant individuals, undeterred by the whispers of fear and the unseen menace, decided to confront the shadow. They were ordinary people, your everyday grocer, the town school teacher, and the old librarian. Yet they had an extraordinary resolve, a burning desire to restore tranquility to their rattled town. Their preparations were meticulous. They assembled torches, candles, and lanterns, their firelight a symbol of hope in the looming darkness. Maps of the town were spread out on rough-hewn tables, the network of streets and alleyways a daunting labyrinth they would soon traverse. They marked the locations where the shadow had been seen, a haunting constellation of fear. Each of them had their reasons, their motivations. The grocer, a stout man with a heart as big as his belly, wanted to ensure the safety of his family. The school teacher, her eyes filled with concern, was driven by the welfare of her students. And the old librarian, his hands trembling with age and anticipation, sought answers in the face of the unknown. As they prepared, the ticking of the clock was a constant reminder of the approaching night. Fear was a palpable entity in the room, a ghostly presence that clung to the corners, whispering of the dangers that lay ahead. Yet they stood firm, their resolve unshaken. The suspense was like a thick fog, wrapping around each word, each glance, each breath. Each passing moment brought them closer to their daunting quest. The weight of the town's hope rested on their shoulders, a heavy mantle they bore with pride. They knew the risks, the possibility of coming face to face with the shadow, and the uncertainty of what they might uncover. As the final rays of the sun disappeared, the night engulfed the town. The full moon hung in the sky, its silvery light casting long, eerie shadows. The stage was set and the players were ready. The night of the full moon was approaching, and so was the shadow. The moon was full, the town was silent, and the shadow was near. The atmosphere in the town was tense, like a tightly wound coil ready to snap at any moment. The full moon hung heavy in the sky, the only source of light in the otherwise inky darkness. Its glow cast long, eerie shadows that seemed to dance and sway with the rustling wind. The town, once full of life and laughter, was now a ghost of its former self, the silence broken only by the occasional howl of a distant wolf. The investigators, a motley crew of seasoned professionals and brave volunteers, were on high alert, their faces etched with anticipation, fear, and a resolve that was as unyielding as the night itself. Each one of them knew the gravity of the situation. They understood that this was not just about them or the town, but about confronting the unknown, the unseen, the shadow. As the night grew darker, the air around them grew colder. It was as if the very atmosphere was holding its breath, waiting for something dreadful. The investigators moved through the town, their flashlights creating fleeting islands of light in the sea of darkness. They were the beacon of hope for the town, their courage standing tall against the face of fear. Each creak of a door, each rustle of leaves, each flicker of a shadow sent a wave of adrenaline coursing through their veins. The anticipation was palpable, the fear was tangible, but they pressed on, determined to face whatever lurked in the shadows. The night wore on, the moon continued its silent vigil, and the shadow remained elusive. The town held its breath, the tension rising with each passing second. The investigators were on the edge, their senses heightened, their hearts pounding in their chests. And then, as the clock struck midnight, a chilling whisper echoed through the silence. It was a voice, cold and hollow, a voice that seemed to come from the very shadows themselves. It asked, "Are you scared of the dark?" As the final echo of the question hung in the air, one thing was clear. The night of the full moon was far from over.